Start then with SASCOC, with suspended acting president Barry Hendricks, who has now been cleared of conspiring to prevent Ntambi Ravele, a Tennis South Africa board member, from contesting in the upcoming elections. Hendricks was recently relieved of his duties and put on special leave, but today arbitrator Alec ruled in his favour. Ntambi Ravele's Tennis South Africa's board member has claimed that Hendricks and Tennis South Africa president Gavin Crooks had conspired to block her nomination from the SASCOC elections. Well, this is a massive story, one that has been gripping the Olympic body for quite some time now. I'm very, very happy to be able to welcome Barry Hendricks live onto the show tonight to give us his perspective as to what has taken place. Barry Hendricks, thank you for your time tonight. In fact, the last time we spoke, if I'm not mistaken, you were indeed in studio. Talk to me about how difficult a time this has been for you and your family, Barry, over the last few months.
It's been an extremely stressful time, difficult time, when you place your hands and your life in the hands, you place your life in the hands of a person that you don't know, a senior counselor, and he has to make the decision as to, no matter what you think is the truth, he still has to make the decision. We've had to live with that. I was not represented by any legal company. I did everything myself because the costs would have been exorbitant, over 240,000 rand, I'm sure. But it came through. It came through. I believe in myself. I believe in the truth, and the truth prevailed.
Barry, I have no doubt that you are feeling very vindicated today. As you mentioned, this has been a very stressful time for you and your family. And if we go through the award that was handed out today by the arbitrators, suggesting that there was no unethical behavior from your side whatsoever, how vindicated do you feel with this decision that's been handed out?
I feel for Ms. Ravele because she has been a stalwart of the sports movement and a firm sports administrator throughout the years. I've known her for over 20 years. And to have been accused by one of my own colleagues of having tried to stop her from being nominated by a national federation was very difficult for me. And I'm in that sense, I'm glad that this process has proven that I did not do anything wrong, and that Ms. Ravele must approach other federations for support in the SASCOC elections if she wants to become a board member in future. And I will encourage her to do so in future.
Barry, where does this leave you and SASCOC going forward now? Is it back to business for you tomorrow as usual? What is going to happen with the day-to-day running of events at the Olympic body?
Oh, my legal team have already written to SASCOC to say that I start tomorrow. Their reason for suspending me was based on this investigation. The investigation has now proven that there has been no fault on my side. I regard myself as the acting president of SASCOC, and I'm willing to work with Mr. Sam Ramsamy, who the IOC and the IPC have now instituted as the facilitator to oversee the upcoming SASCOC elections. I look forward to that. SASCOC must change.
I would like to speak about those elections in just a few moments' time, Barry, but if you wouldn't mind, let's focus on the day-to-day proceedings at SASCOC. Yes. There's no denying that when an individual goes through what you have gone through, perhaps there might be some tension in the office. Have you had an opportunity to speak to any of the members at SASCOC during this process? Have you been allowed to speak to any of the members at SASCOC? Are you expecting smiles and handshakes tomorrow morning when you return?
I've spoken to friends and family, and I've spoken to friends who are national presidents, but that has not been on any formal basis or to discuss the doings of SASCOC. The federations have taken their own decisions with regards to how SASCOC must move forward. I know that South African Canoeing have written letters to SASCOC requesting a special general meeting. I've not been party to that or have any influence over that. But I really want to tell the federations who have stood up, who have now voiced their opinion, who have stood up as a force in sport, to encourage them to continue this. When I was part of the sports struggle, it wasn't about who was in charge, it was about what was right and what is wrong, and you stand up and you fight for it. So those federations who did what they did to challenge the fact that we need to have a special general meeting and to get rid of the whole board in its entirety, including myself. I'm very happy with them. They stood up and they've made me proud.
Barry, those elections were set to take place on the 28th of March. Little did we know prior to that COVID-19 would have the impact that it's had thus far on the world of sport here in South Africa and internationally as well. Now that you are returning to day-to-day business as the acting president of SASCOC, is there any update around those elections? Is there any way an election like that can be done virtually amid COVID-19, or will it remain to be on pause until further notice?
My opinion is very clear. The IOC ran a virtual meeting with all of the Africa continent national Olympic committees, with all the America Olympic committees when they were seeking a particular opinion. A virtual meeting with all of our members, all 86 of them, is not untoward in this troubling but special times. And I'll be working with Mr. Sam Ramsamy to facilitate the implementation of these elections. We need a new board. We need viable people and leaders who can stand up, and we need to implement the Zulman Committee's reports and recommendations. We need independent directors. And the only way we can do this is through new elections. And I call on all the federations to stand behind us in this call to have these elections and to work with Dr. Sam Ramsamy, which I'm going to do. I'll give him a call tomorrow. We are going to work with him and the IOC and IPC to make this thing a reality.
Barry, the arbitrator described you as an impressive and credible witness. You're speaking about a lot of change that is required at SASCOC now, and you're looking to try and produce that change. What would your response to be to those that perhaps suggest that you are part of the old guard of SASCOC and that you perhaps may not be part of that new, young, fresh blood that you are preaching?
You must remember, I only came into SASCOC in 2016. The Zulman Committee referred to actions that happened way prior to me even coming in. In fact, me coming in 2016 was based on turning this organization around. And look where it landed me. It landed me in the position where I was suspended for trying to influence a particular election. No. My voice and my opinion is very clear. I'm only here because of the national federations. If they don't want me, I will not stand. They have asked me to stand, and therefore I'm part and parcel of the leadership. They voted for me in November 2019 by a majority vote of 102 to 69. That shows a clear majority, and I cannot renege on their belief in me. If they tell me that you are part and parcel of the problem, I have absolutely no problem of not standing. But I've not heard that opinion yet.
Barry, a difficult one to try and sum up in a short space of time, but I would ask you to try your best, please. Over the last, perhaps, let's say a decade, SASCOC has unfortunately been making headlines for a few wrong reasons, let's just put it that way. Many might suggest that the system itself is flawed. As the acting president, as a man that is going to be running in the presidential elections, you speak of change. What is required to turn SASCOC around and make it a successful Olympic sports organization?
1, credible leadership. 2, a belief in this organization by our stakeholders, which is government, the National Portfolio Committee, business, but more importantly, our national federations and our athletes. We have to turn the brand of this organization around from being organizationally centered to athlete and federation centered. And this is what I've been working for in the past 4 years. You must remember, I was put in charge of many projects that have reached fruition, such as the investigation into the misconduct of previous staff members. And that has been...
What is meat out?
Excuse me?
No, sorry, Barry, continue.
Oh, my apologies. So there are many other projects that we need to complete as an organization. And the first and most important project is the importance of our federation and the importance of our athletes. We have to become athlete-centric as well as federation-centric.